Hey y'all, it's Cassie. Welcome back to Sermons for a Revolution. Each week I answer questions about how to heal yourself so that together we can heal the world. This week's question is from someone who asked how they can sharpen their intuition. So I love this topic. I love talking about intuition. I think it's the way to God, the way to the gut. And the question is really asking, how do you live by the wisdom of the goddess within, with that still small voice for God, that voice that knows exactly what to do and exactly what to say in every given situation? And there are really practical ways that you can make lifestyle choices to sharpen your intuition and really hear that voice. Because this is the command center for divine action, and we got to pay attention. And I could tell you like 25 ways, but I'm going to tell you 13 ways today. And hopefully you'll choose a few and implement them in your life. And these are the ways that I've honed my intuition over the years. So, and if you'd like more information, because I have way more, just tell me in the comment section. Contrary to popular belief, the intuition isn't just something that some people have and some people aren't really good at. It's something that you actually hone. It's something that you take time to sharpen in your own life. And it takes practice and it takes lifestyle choices to follow it consistently and to differentiate between fear and truth. If we do not start to live entirely by our intuition, the world will continue to fall apart and we will experience the entire destruction of mankind. So the stakes are kind of high that we actually start doing this. And our collective anxiety is going to remain the same until we start sharpening these skills. So it's really worth taking on these ways of sharpening your intuition. It really will bring you peace of mind, and and the peace does begin inside your mind. If you want peace on earth, we've got to start with peace in here. So 13 ways to sharpen your intuition. Number one, I'm going to start with the one that nobody wants to hear. If you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, you need to address it. Just seek help, reach out your hand, and there are lots of ways that you can get help right now. There's free 12-step programs. I'm a huge fan of them. Been involved with 12-step programs since I was 20 years old, and I'm about to be 33. And if you can find solution-based meetings, that's great. Drug and alcohol abuse increases anxiety, depression, and destroys your intuition. Abusing substances cuts us off from the truth of who we are, and we really need the truth of who you are right now. We need you. The peace on earth cannot happen without you. So we're going to do number two, which is another one nobody wants to hear, but we're just going to get it out of the way because it's so important. Quit eating sugar. Just get it out of your life. You've got to cut out the sugar. And shit that doesn't need sugar in it has sugar in it. Like everything has sugar in it, and that is not like some weird coincidence. We are being addicted strategically. I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist, but it does not serve any system of patriarchy for us to amplify our intuition. And there is sugar in literally almost every food in the grocery store. What your intuition serves is the good of mankind and the future of the human race, not the patriarchy, not the government. It's going to serve the people. Number three, meditate every single day. Don't miss a day. Just meditate every day. Meditation ain't loosey-goosey. It's not riding a bike. It's not lying by the pool and breathing for a couple minutes. Most forms of yoga are not meditation. Meditating is being very still and training your mind by focusing on one thing. Okay? And there are tons of places that offer free meditation right now. You can go to Shambhala Buddhist community, which is really great. That's where I had my first formal meditation lesson, like many, many years ago, and I still remember some things that they taught me. Many Christian churches now have meditation nights. You can watch my free video, and I'll teach you how to meditate in 1 minute a day. And it's a really quick lesson, and it's so easy to meditate, but just at least start with 1 minute a day. Without meditation, we will not achieve the soundness of mind and the heart that it takes to be the fierce revolutionaries that we came here to be. So you've got to get in there and just meditate no matter what it takes. We've all got time for 1 minute a day. Number four, each morning, this is also going to trigger some people, but I got to tell you, each morning drop to your knees and pray that God or the goddess or the universe, whatever it is, whatever name you want to call it, uses your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your nose, your hands, your feet, and most importantly, your mind all day. Start the day like that. Start the day on your knees. And when I say that prayer and I listen, my intuition is on high alert. And it's very specific too. It's like, turn this way, eat this, not that, call this person. The key is actually doing what your intuition asks you to do. Each time we deny the commands of our intuition, we dull it. I'm going to say that again because it's really important. Every single time that we deny the commands of our intuition, we actually dull it. So it has the opposite effect of sharpening it. Jesus is one example of an enlightened master who was on earth. And he was an enlightened master because he gave himself entirely to the intuitional voice for God within. That's why he was an enlightened master. He was just able to completely follow this voice. He's just like you and me, only he didn't doubt that intuitional thought, even though it didn't make sense and even though it pissed a lot of fucking people off. Number 5, when you get mad, realize it's because somewhere along the line, early on, you chose not to follow your intuition. Now, I definitely get resentful. I mean, I get angry and I snap at my husband and I get peeved out at people that I love and people that just annoy me. And I have to use a process that I've been using for 10 years to achieve forgiveness. And it always involves looking at the moment that I decided not to listen to my intuition. There's always a moment when I decided not to listen to that voice. Number 6, get enough sleep, but don't obsess about getting enough sleep. So in the first couple of years of starting my spiritual practice, I started grad school. And I was getting like approximately 2 hours of sleep on a good night. And then I'd wake up and I'd like meditate and pray and do all my stuff, self-examination. And I couldn't figure out why I was feeling fearful and hysterical, really, all the time. And even though I was doing all the stuff, I was doing all the stuff, I was trying to be of service. And one of my spiritual teachers pointed out that if you don't get enough sleep, it doesn't matter how much you meditate, you're still gonna feel crazy. So get enough sleep. Because sleep deprivation leads to distorted thinking, bad decisions, and I don't know if this is true for you, but for me, weird exhaustion-induced crushes on people I normally wouldn't be that into otherwise. I don't know what that's about. That said, losing a few hours a night here or there is not a problem. Losing a few hours to spend time with a sick relative or with your child or with your significant other, that's a noble act. So don't spend the rest of the day, don't get mad at them for you're staying up late. Just in those cases, when you wake up in the morning, rely on the power of God to guide you for the rest of the day, to keep you awake and connected and alert. Just rely entirely on the power of God. And just get enough sleep as soon as possible. Number 7, do morning pages. Some of you might know what morning pages are. Julia Cameron introduced this concept in her book, The Artist's Way. This practice completely changed my life, so I'm going to tell you just how it works. Get a notebook and a pen. That's number 1. Put it by your bed. Every day, when you wake up in the morning, just brain dump 3 pages. Take the pen to the paper and just write. It doesn't matter if you have to say, I want coffee, I want coffee, I want coffee. Just write for 3 full pages and don't stop. And a little trick, if 3 pages sounds intimidating, is just get a little notebook. Start with that, okay? It's a little cheat, but it totally works, okay? And I will tell you what, like doing morning pages is why I'm married who I'm married. It's like, it completely changed my life in really concrete ways. So thank you, Julia Cameron. Thank you, morning pages. Thank you, intuitional musculature. Number 8, do your best to tell the truth in every single situation. Now, this is a tricky one because fibbing, stretching the truth, and lying by omission hurts us emotionally and distorts our thinking. And it manufactures feelings of guilt, and guilt begets anger. And yet, we do it all the time. And there was a time in my life when I had far too much tolerance for my like little white lies, which were in a lot of cases not white lies at all. They were like huge lies that were hurting people, but I didn't want to admit that I had any responsibility. So I had to teach myself how to tell the truth. So what I did was I would catch myself lying, one time to my boyfriend's mother, and often for justifiable reasons, and then I would have to go back and tell the truth. So I went back and told this woman the truth. It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. And then another time, when it was early in my graduate days at Columbia, I'd realized I'd lied on my application to get in. And I had just uprooted my life and moved 2,000 miles to start this graduate school. I'd taken out a huge loan for this graduate school. And I was approximately 100% sure that I was going to be kicked out if they found out that I'd lied on my admissions sample. So, but I had recently decided that living at peace in my own head and hearing my intuitional voice was the most important thing to me. So you know what I had to do? I confessed to a professor that I had lied on my application. And I completely expected her to walk me over to the admissions office and for them to like give me the drop kick out of there. And all she did was laugh her ass off at me. She laughed and laughed, and I ended up graduating with a degree from that program, and I ended up teaching there. And I got to do all that without this secret fear that they were going to find me out. And that peace of mind was so worth that embarrassing moment of telling my professor that I lied. In every situation you can, tell the truth. And when you figure out that you're lying, go back and tell the truth. It's okay. Mark Twain said, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. You want a clear mind. We tell the truth so that we don't have to think about whether we're telling the truth. Just hone that muscle. Number 9, keep your word. If you find you are unable to keep your word, honor your word as soon as possible by letting the person know as soon as you know that you won't be able to keep your word. You won't be doing what you said you do or what they expected you to do. This one is huge for me. Acknowledging what you were expected to do or what you said you'd do, it really changed, and acknowledging how it impacted them and how that changed something for them. And telling them what I'm going to do to change in the future so that this doesn't happen again. That really changed my life because, you know, I got pretty far in my spiritual practice. I hate to say how far, without even knowing how important this was. So this is really a new tool in my toolkit, and it's completely transformed my ability to trust myself and that voice within. Because when I say I'm going to do something, I know I'm going to do it now. And if I don't do it, I know I'm going to honor it and find out some way to do it in the future, even if I can't do it right when I said I would. Number 10, drink lots of water, preferably using a filter that removes fluoride. Dehydration can induce feelings of anxiety. And here's the creepy ass part. Evidence shows that all the fluoride in our water is dosed with doubles the risk of hypothyroidism. And the thyroid gland regulates the endocrine system. And symptoms of hypothyroid also include anxiety and depression and brain fog, all of which inhibits your intuitive thought. There is no good health reason that our drinking supply should be dosed with fluoride. In fact, it doesn't protect our health, it destroys it. And we should all be very skeptical of the toxicity in our water sources because what may be affected is our ability to think well and peacefully. So drink lots of water and filter that shit. Number 11. Experiment with your intuition. If you get a still small intuitive thought, follow it. Even if it doesn't make sense to your logical brain. This is like high level shit, but I know you can do it. Even if other people think it's really weird or wacky or out there, just test it out anyway. And start with small intuitional thoughts. It doesn't have to be like buying $1 million property somewhere. It can be just, I have a strange thought that I should call John right now. So pick up the phone and call John and figure out like what's going on with John. What are you waiting for? Fucking call John right now. You've got to test it out and be scientific about your intuition to figure out what's true and what's not true. I used to think that my intuition had something to do with the way I felt, like in my solar plexus, like right here. But I was wrong. I was actually wrong. My intuition happens in my mind. That's why my mind has to be really clear. I get intuitive thoughts. I don't really get intuitive feelings. I get like scared feelings, but my intuitive thoughts happen in my mind, believe it or not. Intuitional thoughts are firm knowings. It does not lead to obsessive fear. So test your intuitive thoughts. Pray, when you get one, pray and ask whether you had the right thought. Follow it if you get the nudge to follow it, and then assess what happened after you did it. We learn the truth when we want to know it. So it's up to you when you want to learn it. Number 12, if you feel moved to do so, practice A Course in Miracles. You've heard me talk about A Course in Miracles on this channel before. The Course in Miracles is a metaphysical mind training that transforms your mind from thoughts of fear to thoughts of love. And that is a huge difference in the way that most of us go about our day. It changed my life to practice the principles of A Course in Miracles. And I just want to say this again. It changed my life to practice the principles of A Course in Miracles. Not to read the principles of A Course in Miracles, not to think about it or talk about it or like walk around with it in my book bag, but to practice the principles of A Course in Miracles. It basically gave me a mind transplant by changing the way that I behaved in the world. It feels like I'm living with a new mind. I mean, I can see like glowing shit around like objects now. I mean, it's really weird. You gotta get into this. So the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous says the spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. And the crux of any metaphysical text worth its salt is to heal our minds so that we are guided by the love of God to heal the world. And we must heal our minds of fear if we are to know the peaceful consciousness of God. Number 13, recognize that there is only one of us here. According to A Course in Miracles, on a metaphysical level, there is no such thing as you and me. We're exactly the same on a metaphysical level. So the polluted water that children have been drinking in Flint, Michigan, has polluted our own souls. The chemical warfare on the children in Syria and other human beings there is a direct warfare on our own minds and hearts. Our health and joy is inextricably connected to the happiness of others. If you recognize this, you will be really in touch with your intuition. Martin Luther King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. He said, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. What affects one directly affects all indirectly." So it's affecting us that those children are drinking bad water in Flint, Michigan. We're all connected. And once we care about others as much as we care about ourselves, guided by true love of humanity and not love masquerading as codependency and all this other shit we've got going on right now, the human race will return to its natural state of love and joy. Until then, the children will starve to death every 4 seconds, and elderly and depressed people will die alone, and we will suffer from plagues of mass murder and collective panic. And I don't mean to get super depressive right now, but this is the facts. These are the facts of our world. It's up to us to save the world. Just like Wonder Woman, we must fully grasp the catastrophic forces of evil and war and take personal responsibility for obliterating it. It's our job to obliterate it with the indestructible power of love. That's on us. You see, we don't hone our intuition to make a sale or to get a guy, though certainly those are some of the benefits of it, I can attest. We sharpen our intuition because we can serve best when we are telepathically engaged with one another. So your spiritual experiment for this week is to choose one of these 13 tips. Just choose one of them, one of these practices, and do it. And when you've done it, come and tell us on the comments which one you're choosing. And then when you've done it, tell us. And then choose another one, and do that one, and then choose another one, and tell us that one. Just keep us involved in this. We've got to keep going. We need our intuitions to save the world. Be sure to get a copy of my book, May Cause Love. It's available everywhere books are sold. It's also available at maycauselove.com. And let's cause some love, my friends. Let's get 2 copies of my book into every single women's prison, rehab, and shelter in the United States and Canada. So go on to my website, CassieUnderwood.com, if you want to get involved with the process there of doing this great service to people. And finally, if you have a question for me, go to my website and check out the page that's dedicated to this channel and send me a question. I will answer it here. I might not get to it immediately, but I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in.